the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. I'm so happy to be here among you. And this place is very, very special to me. So I'll give you a little free information about myself. So my name is William Joseph. I was ordained in last November, Thanksgiving weekend. I came from Egypt to this church in 1999. I served in this church for almost 2 years, and then I moved to Florida. So this is where I started. Here, where I started serving God, and it ended up to be like this today. So hopefully one day all of you guys serve the Lord in whatever way the Lord chooses. And I probably told some of you before that I still recall their faces. I remember very well my first Sunday school meeting. If you know the generation of Makar, he was in high school at that time, and Uncle Hani, I came to Abu Montanis, I told him, Abu Montanis, my name is so-and-so, and I came and I used to serve in Egypt, and I would love to serve here. So I was like, okay, talk to Uncle Hani, Ashalom. So I went to Uncle Hani, Ashalom. And he told me, okay, you will teach next week to high school. I was like, I never served high school before, and this is a very tough age. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable to do this. Like, no, you'll do fine. And it was around the Feast of the Cross. So I did my first Sunday school lesson around the Feast of the Cross. And those high schoolers at that time, you can imagine someone just coming from Egypt, how broken English he would have and so forth. But I remember very well that this group of high schoolers at that time, they were so encouraging afterward to the point that I felt like, yes, God probably want me to continue serving. I can imagine if that day did not go well, I would have been like, you know what, this is not my thing, I should just find something else to do. But from that point on, I went to Florida, and then I came back here 5 years later and stayed on Long Island. And through God's grace, I was ordained last November. So today we will talk about something very, very essential. Something just, if we understand what today's talk about, if we really adopt it into our heart and adapt to it and live by it, it will just make our life so much easier. So much easier. Today we'll talk about love and discipline, right? But it's not really about love and discipline. It's really about something bigger than this. I remember I was talking about something similar topic to a group of Egyptian youth like you, like American Egyptian youth. And when the word discipline came up, almost everyone in the meeting mentioned a very traditional Egyptian tool that exists in every house. Everyone grew up with, and there's a variety of colors and a variety of sizes. It comes in different shapes and forms, and some of them are more painful than others. So, and it can be used in direct contact or at distance. It's something very unique to our culture. Everyone knows, of course, what it is. It's called excellent. You're true Egyptians. Yeah. Everyone. I feel so important talking in front of such a great number of people. Anyway, so so God does not have a shipship. Just tell you that. God does not use shipship and does not have a shipship. And he uses other ways, but he does not use shipship. So today's message, I always would love to start with this and end with this. Today's message is about love, encouragement, right? Encouragement, trust. This is what it is about. It's not about anything else. It's not about, I want you to leave today, if you would remember one thing, remember that God is a Father. God is your Father. Your Father. Speaking of Father, I feel when my first son was born, I discovered something I've never discovered before. That second when he was born, and I held him in my arm, he was born into the world, and in the same exact second, something was born inside my heart. Something I never experienced before. Something I heard of. I could talk about it lectures and lectures, but I've never experienced it, which is father. Something you would like. I figured also something very interesting that I have never loved my father as much as I love my son. Fatherhood feeling is way stronger than the sonhood or sonship, or however you want to call it. The love from a father to a son or a daughter is 100,000 times stronger than the love from a son to a father. Keep that in mind. That God is a father, right? And his love to you is beyond measure. No matter how much you think you've loved anything or anyone in your life, would measure anywhere close to how much God loves, right? Now, and it's funny that I'm here today to talk to you again around the Feast of the Cross. How many of you guys know that the Feast of the Cross was this week? Excellent. So the church celebrates the Feast of the Cross twice a year, in March and in September. And in September, it's 3 days. It's 27th, 28th, 29th, which was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I thought the meeting would be in church, so I was waiting in church, and I was looking at Christ on the cross. And as I'm preparing to talk about love and discipline, I see Christ on the cross, and I see the incarnation of love on the cross. I see the incarnation of love on the cross. Now, we'll read part of Hebrews 12, verse 4 to 10, or 11, I believe. So we'll read that together. I'll read it for you to make it easier. You have not yet resisted the bloodshed striving against sin, and you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks to you as sons. My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens, and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, God will deal with you as with sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed for a few days chastened us as seemed best to them, but he, for our profit, that we may be partaker of his holiness. All right. So if you go back to how it started by, my son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. Just the first word, my son. First off, Paul is quoting Proverbs 12, 3 and 4, 2 verses from the book of Proverbs. He's saying my son. What does that bring to you, the word my son? Like, how does that translate in your head? My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. And then when he goes further down, if you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. And then when he says, but if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. So think about the word my son for a second. How does that tell you? I was thinking about that, and just a few things came into my head. So I want to ask you, what do you think about when he starts by my son? You guys used to just listen, you just talk back to me. What do you guys think? Yes.
He's here to comfort you, and as a section in the very like you're his son. It's
Okay.
like a comforting method to bring some like hard.
Just to get you on board and get you closer, okay? Okay? What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
There's a sense of like ownership and claiming.
So God, he wants you to feel like you're mine, right? Excellent. Okay. What else you think about just that part that we said, just we read? I felt there's two types of love. Two types of love. A general love that God has to all creation, right? And there is a special love to his children. He said, I'm not going to chasten everyone. I will not correct everyone. If you are my son, I'll correct you. If you're legitimate, if you're a legitimate son, then if you're not mine, then I will not correct you. Right? Like you just said, there is a sense of owning God. That's telling you, you're mine, you're my son. You're my son. I would imagine I took my kids to the mall. And as we're walking down in the mall, I see other kids are misbehaving. Other kids are misbehaving or making noise or causing troubles. Would I correct them? Would I go like try to discipline them? What do you think? If you're a father and you're walking down the mall and you see other kids are misbehaving, would you discipline them or do anything to them? Why? They are not? They're not good, right? This is very important. This is very, very important. There's always thought about why bad things happen to good people. Why bad things happen to good people. Or a lot of time we feel like we will fall into like, why God is doing that to me? Why other people are not like, why people that don't even believe in God are just successful and achieving and why? And then even David himself, he said to God, like, why do you prosper the way of the ungodly? Why do you prosper the way of the ungodly? Although this is not our topic, but one of the reasons I want you to know very well that you as a child of the Most High, you have a privilege, not everyone will have. Willingly. Because he said, if you accept discipline, you're my son. If you don't accept discipline, it's your choice. Like, his fatherhood is offered, not everyone is accepting his fatherhood. But if you're accepting his fatherhood, he's telling you, you're mine, I got you. I'm going to do a few things with you. It might be uncomfortable, but I'll do it with you. Right? For indeed, for a few days, now he's comparing himself to father. So now, let's get a few slides. I was thinking also about this. Just if you think about relationship between love and discipline, L&D is, if you're in the medical field, it's not labor and delivery. I mean, L&D is love and discipline, just to make it short. You cannot see that in a husband and wife relationship or friendship, right? You might see it in teacher and student. You'll not see it in driver and police officer, like when you get pulled over if you are speeding. You might see it in coach and player. You definitely see in father and son. So why love and discipline will not exist in friendship, for example, or husband and wife? Because when there is love and discipline, then relationship is not equal. Husband and wife are here. Friendship are here. Friends are here. Father and son are here. Coach and player are here. And so forth. So discipline, there is a distance. There is a discrepancy between how much we know and how much he knows. Right? You have to know that very well. We're here, he's here. He sees better. When you're out there, you see better. Right? Why do you think driver, like if you're driving and you're pulled over, you got a ticket, is that a discipline or that's a punishment? What do you think? Is it a discipline or a punishment? في كده سنة تعال. انت صديق كويس. I want to ask you, what do you think? Discipline versus punishment. Is discipline and punishment are the same thing? Or they're different? And what's different between them? There is no right and wrong answers. We're just brainstorming this. What do you think? What's the difference between discipline and punishment? Good morning. How are you today? Yes, Nina.
I think punishment serves to apply justice,
Okay.
whereas discipline has the goal to make someone better.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. What else? So the main, like you meant, the goal is different between punishment and discipline. You want to say something?
Yeah. Punishment is a result we were talking about before. Punishment is a result of what I do,
Okay.
a consequence.
Right.
And discipline is establishing some parameters of.
Excellent. That's very important. That's very, very important. Punishment is more like a consequence. Discipline is a way of raising up. It's a whole different thing. Excellent. What else? You guys coming with better answers than I put for myself. What else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I be disciplined without doing anything wrong?
That's a good question. That's actually a very good question, and we're coming to that. Coming to that as soon as we finish that question. Discipline and punishment. You guys are thinkers. So discipline is for correction, right? Punishment not necessarily for correction. Punishment is like if you say that your like in some countries, if you murder someone, your punishment is you being murdered, like you being killed, executed, right? Obviously, if you're executed, this is not for correction, to correct your behavior because you're dumb, right? I think it's out of that, yeah. For improvement, and the main motive, like you mentioned, is care and love. Punishment is not like that at all, right? They might look the same, right? How many of you guys growing up went to your parents and told them, why you hate me, right? Like my dad hates me, like my mom hates me. Did you guys ever say that to your parents? Whether you did or not. Punishment and discipline might look the same, but it is whole different motives at all. Now, the third Samir asked the question, can you be disciplined if you're without doing something wrong? What do you guys think? Yes.
The monks discipline themselves all the time.
It doesn't discipline us all the time.
No, it said the monks discipline themselves all the time.
Monks discipline themselves.
And, I mean, Saint Anthony by himself used to like put a rope on his head, and then every time he would sleep, the rope would go down so that he could keep praying.
Okay.
So it's not. It's a way to become closer to God. Doesn't mean that I'm really scared of punishment for me to be closer to God.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Discipline just be more better, not because you did wrong to be corrected. So just doing the.
So you're saying, so discipline has nothing to do with you did something right or wrong. Okay? Excellent. What else? Any other thoughts? We'll come across this for a second, but discipline, there is two ways of discipline. There is a negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement, right? Like, discipline, like if my son did something right, what would I tell him? Bravo, I'm so proud of you, and hug him and kiss him and give him a candy, whatever, right? What is this? This is a discipline, right? So discipline, not necessarily in a negative way, like a punishment or a ship. Again, it could be a positive reinforcement, right? And think about coach and player relationship. So the coach tells the player, listen, I want you have to run every day 10 miles, and you have to watch your diet. You cannot eat this, or you have to eat this, you have to eat that much, or you cannot exceed certain things. This is a discipline, right? So discipline, not necessarily for correcting bad behavior or a consequence of bad behavior, but for improvement. Remember, we just said discipline is for improvement, not necessarily that you did something bad, right? You guys disagree or agree? Right? Who's still awake? You still awake? You with me? Okay. We'll try to answer a few questions together.
Question. I have a question.
Yes.
So, from what I'm understanding, so they might actually look the same, but the intent behind it is different?
Yes.
And the relationship is different?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. A police officer will not discipline you. He's punishing you for doing something wrong. Your dad, if he sees you driving and speeding and not driving carelessly, he will take your car away, not letting you drive for a week, for you to know how dangerous that is. Not to punish you, right? They look the same. I'm sure if someone just got, one of my high schoolers finally got his driver license, right? The first week of driving, I knew that he will do that. So I told him, George, you gotta be careful. I have a feeling you have eye, will be pulled over and you'll get a ticket. It's like, Abuna, what are you saying? This is bad luck. Don't tell me that. I was like, George, please. Sure enough, within the first week, he got a ticket. He made a wrong left turn. He was not supposed to do a left turn, and he did a left turn. He's very unlucky that somehow a police officer was there, and he pulled him over and he gave him a ticket. His dad got so angry at him, and he took the car from him for a week. Anyway, but during that week, George was so angry, like was so upset. He probably felt that his dad is like, why do you hate me, right? He does not hate him. He does not hate him. However, punishment could be like, I don't care. The police officer will not build a love relationship with the person who's giving him a ticket. He does not care for him. He's doing a job. You broke the light, you're getting a ticket. Right? So now I want you to go to a different level. I want you to imagine yourself as a discipliner, right? And we'll try to ask ourselves these questions. Who will we discipline? Why will we discipline? When will we discipline? And will we not discipline? And how will we, discipline, not punish. How will we punish? Right? We'll try to answer these questions together. But you have to answer. Like, these are not or wrong and right answers, so you have to tell me what you think. Again, think of yourself as a parent, a mom, or a dad. Now, who will you discipline? We'll probably answer that question already. But if you go out to the mall again and you have certain children, you have your children, you have other children in the mall, who would you discipline?
Your own children.
Your own children, right? So this is very important. You have to remember that very well. You will discipline your own kid, not others, right? Think from a God perspective. And I want you to understand that very well. God does not treat us as objects. God does not treat us as objects. A lot of people think it's like God treats us like, when you play chess and you move the chess pieces from one spot. God does not treat us like that. God does not treat us like that. We are not objects. We are His children. We are His children. and I mentioned that before, there's two types of love. There is a general love, and there is a father love. God loves all creation, but his children are different. He gives them something that, he offered them something he might not offer to everyone. And that is discipline. That is discipline. Right? God has a double role. Think of yourself as a teacher, right? Or a coach. One of the people that you're teaching is your own child. So you have a double role here. You're teaching everyone, but one of those children is yours, right? So God has a double role. Now, why will you discipline? I want to hear you on this. Why will you discipline? Reasons. This is a very important question. Why God discipline us? Yes?
Because you care.
Because he cares, right? Very good. What else? Mina?
To teach them right from wrong.
Okay, that's correct. Excellent, yes.
To make us better.
To make us better. Excellent. What else? You guys know it all. I probably have one more thing or two things. Let's see who can get it right. Or have a better answer. Mr. Samir, what do you think? Why God discipline us?
I always think of him like a father, because he's a father.
Because he's a father. Excellent. It's very true, yes.
I was thinking if I was a dad, I want my kids to be better than me. So I would discipline them to be better than
To
me.
improve. Excellent. To be the best they can be. Right? Okay, so I had the same answer. Because he loves and cares, to correct, to improve, to warn. This is, you missed that. If you see your child is going somewhere that will hurt him, if he's putting his hand into that electric wire, you will discipline him, right? Won't you? If you see your child hanging out with the wrong people and you try to stop him, right? I'm not trying to judge anyone, but one of the people that I was like, and during confession, and she's telling me that my parents are so close-minded. It's like, why? I was like, they don't want me to hang out with my school friends. They are very good friends. They're very good people, but they're so Egyptian. They don't want me to hang out with these friends. So in the beginning, I just believed it. And then I started asking questions like, so tell me about these friends, where you hang out, what do you do? It's like, we just gather and watch Netflix or something. Like, okay. And what do you do while you're watching? It's like, we're just sitting, watching Netflix. Like, gee, is there drinking involved? I was like, but I don't drink. They drink, but I don't drink. It's like, okay. Is there smoking involved? I was like, occasionally, but not all the time. So I was like, are you sure they're good friends? Are you sure they're good people? Are they sure they're good people? Everyone is different. When it comes to my own child, I will not tell these people to smoke or not smoke or drink or not drink. They're not my children. I will not discipline them. But I care for my child. I care for my child. Like, I don't want my child to be around the wrong people that will hurt him, either by behavior or influence, or even just like people that hang out together, they're labeled together, right? All right, what else? To prevent and avoid, right? Similar to warn. And because you know your son, this is very important. Discipline is personalized. Discipline is personalized. I have a boy and a girl. What I do with my boy is different than what I do with my girl. Right? What I did with my boy when he was 5 years old is different than what I do with him when he's 10 years old. So the discipline is very personalized. What works with you will not work with the person next to you. You cannot tell the father how to discipline. This is very important. I want you to remember that very well. There's different ways of discipline, and that's very personalized, especially if you're as expert as the father, right? And because you know life and you know the future. A very common sentence from a lot of parents if their kids are not doing academically well, when they are very smart. So the father will come and says like, or the mother will come and says like, What bothers me that he's so smart, but he's not putting effort. If you put a little effort, he will get excellent scores. From a parent perspective, he knows his child abilities. He knows skills. He knows where he can go and how far he can achieve. But the son is not seeing that. But the father knows life, knows the future, knows his son, knows where he can go, how much he can achieve. He might be a little harsh on him, right? Now, when would you discipline? When would you intervene? When would you make the decision of now I'm gonna take his phone away. Or now I will ground him at home and not let him go out. When would you do that as a father? What do you think? I promise. Oh my God, it's already 10 o'clock. I will rush, I'm sorry. Yes?
After you've given them a chance to try to improve on their own.
Okay. Okay, so you give them a chance. Like you give them a verbal instructions and you'll see, okay? That's very good. God definitely does that all the time, yes?
And they go directly against the word.
Okay, like more like a stubborn. Okay, it's very good. What else? Yes?
Like when you see a habit starting to develop, you're trying to catch it early on.
That's very good. That's very good. Excellent. What else? When you start, you're seeing it becoming a habit, right? Yes, ma'am.
I think also when the person starts like forgetting their worth, so they don't act to the standard of their worth. So
I see.
You as like the parent or the father,
Caregiver,
you see the worth of your like child, and
Yes.
then once they stop acting according to that, then you.
I see. That's very true. That's very true. You guys have better answers than me. Anyone has anything else to say? Or any? Yes.
If they're in immediate danger, so if they're
Immediate
into
danger?
fire.
That's very true. That's very true. All what you said is 100% correct. One thing I want to add to it, not really, but I want to add to when my kid is ready. A lot of time as a dad, I feel like if I talk to him now, it will be a fight, it will not be a discipline. It's not the right time to talk. Sometimes you'll postpone discipline, right? Like push it over. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you know the difference between God is punishing or disciplining us?
Well, the rule is God does not punish his children. God disciplines, does not punish. Children have the right to refuse the discipline, as we read. But God does not punish. Absolutely. Yes.
If I could just spin her question then, how do we distinguish between God's discipline and maybe just an event happening in our lives?
That's a very good question. Actually, this is 2 slides down. So we'll get to that. But I don't want to lose this for a second. I want to highlight that if God is not disciplined at the moment, it could be that everything is well and there is nothing to teach right now, or it could be like you're not ready. You're not ready. They call it teaching moment. There is a teaching moment. Teaching moment is like what to say and when to say it. When that child is ready to listen, or that child is ready to handle the discipline, right? Of course, like you said, if he does something wrong, not necessarily that if he does something wrong, but sometimes I would discipline to prepare him for something big, right? I'm getting ready to get him a car. I better know that he's ready and knows the restrictions of driving the car. He could hurt himself and others, right? So God could discipline us, not because we've done something bad, but because something big is ahead of us, right? Discipline is not meant to be for sadness, even though it could be a little painful, but it's not meant to be for sadness. It's meant to be for joy. For joy, remember that very well. Now, when will you not discipline? And this is the big question. Or stop. When will you not or stop discipline? Think of yourself as a dad. What? When he's old enough? True, but in God's case, we're never old enough. But this is right. What else? Yes. Yes.
If the kid already knows he's like screwed up and he's like ready to destroy.
And he's okay, like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Right? You let him go through it and you see him coming back. You're waiting for him on the road because you know he's coming back. Okay? Mina. The same thing? Yeah. Did you tell him dancing? Want to say something? No? Anyone else has to say anything? Yes?
They're being obedient.
When you become obedient, right? There is no need for discipline at the moment. Right? Very true. I had that down too. So I had down, again, I will not discipline if he's not my son. I want to correct, I emphasize that many times. If he's not my son, I will care. Right? God, of course, is not that case, but if you're not God's child, God will let you go through life. But if you're his child, he will take correcting measures throughout the way, right? If there is no need, like he said, and if he can't do it, sometimes, again, like he said, he's not ready. He's not ready. I know my son's ability, and I know where he can go. And some mistakes is out of his hand. It's not because he intentionally doing it. He's just someone is not good in math. Like disciplining him is not going to make him smarter. Like this is his abilities, right? This is big. This is big. And again, this is the verse said, if you endure chastening, God deals with you as sons. Before that he said, my son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. And then he said, if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, that you are illegitimate and not sons. Every son has to go through discipline. Every son has to go through discipline. We're not born obedient. None of us was born obedient. Obedience is something we acquire through discipline. I don't know if any one of you is different. Like, anyone here born obedient? Like without discipline? No? Okay. Every one of us is born, we need discipline. We're not born obedient. Like, no, it's mine. I want it now. Right? We're not born if we refuse D, we refuse L and F. This is very important. This is very important. No matter what happened with you in life, I know that a life events could be very harsh and very traumatizing, but never forget that God loves you so much. God loves you so much. Right? The last one is hopeless. Like I don't know what to do with the child. This child, his discipline is not working with him. The Israelites drove God, did that with God. If you go Isaiah chapter 1, God is telling them, I don't know what else to do with you. God is literally telling them that. I don't know what else to do with you. Every time I try to discipline you, you go further away. Everything from the head to the toe is just, boy, it's sick. You guys are I don't know what else to do with you. I'm going to stop hitting you. I'm going to stop striking you. Because every time I strike you or discipline you, you go further away. Right? I wish we never get to that point. I wish we can be more sensitive to discipline, right? This is another type now. How will you not discipline? No, how will you discipline? Ways of discipline. How God discipline us, or how would you discipline your child? We've gone through that already. I'm going to go through that quickly. There is positive and negative reinforcement. Remember that very well. In education, if any of you in the education field or teaching field, you would know that there is positive reinforcement, which usually much more effective, and there is a negative reinforcement. It's a good job and bad job. Good job, no, you shouldn't have done that. Or you could have done that better, and so forth, right? And again, I mentioned that God personalized discipline. Not everyone the same, right? I don't know, one child could be like, but my brother did the same thing, you didn't do anything to him. You could tell God the same thing, like, all these people doing that, and you're not doing anything with them, and you're doing that with me. Not everyone is, right? God, this is very important. God will not post like a scar. God will not discipline you to the point He leaves the scar in your life and you make Him hate you, right? God is an expert. He knows what to do and when to do it and when to stop it. God will not scar you in a bad way, right? Remember that very well. And again, that the ways of discipline, it changes from time to time. What you do with a 5 years old and 10 years old and so forth. Now think of yourself as a disciplinee. I know this is not a word, but let's imagine a word called disciplinee, or the son, right? And you're being disciplined. What should you do? What should you do as a receiver of discipline? خلصت عليهم. They're not talking to you guys anymore. Yes?
Don't complain.
Don't complain. It's big one. It's a big one. You can complain to him. You cannot complain about. You should not complain about him. Like you can go to him and fight with him and talk to him, and explain to him your anger and your feelings. He's your dad, right? But like the Israelites is like, you brought us here to kill us in the desert. Want to go back to Egypt? It was nice in Egypt. We have everything there, and they were slaves. But now they want to go. Now Egypt is good, right? This is a good one, right? What else?
Keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind. Excellent. This is very good. This is very good. It's not necessarily for because he does something wrong. Keep an open mind. What else? Yes.
Try to see your like the father's perspective.
Excellent. Think from the other side. It's a good way of applying it to everything in your life. If you can think from the other side, how they see the story. That's excellent. What else? Yes.
Accept it even if you don't always understand it.
Accept is a big one. Accept is definitely a big one. Accept. Did you attend this lecture before?
Be thankful because He knows better. Be thankful.
Be thankful. Although it's more ideal than can be done. It's easier said than done. But if you can be thankful, that is the best way. Definitely. But at least, like he said, do not be like a complainer. Do not, like the gospel mentioned two things. So I thought, do not regard lightly. Do not regard lightly. This is in the NIV version, and you can change it to do not despise. What does that mean? Either way, do not regard, disregard, do not regard that lightly, or do not despise. What do you think that means? Who did well on SAT? Okay, go ahead.
I would say to like think of it as like a warning, like what you said before, to actually consider the fact that this life is harmful to you in the future.
Okay, that's very true. That's very true. Do not, in another word, do not be stubborn. Stubbornness is definitely a disease of this generation. One of the reasons that through God's grace, everything now is easy. Everything is easy, and everything is replaceable, which is good in a way, but bad in a way. But that makes us a lot of times stubborn. It's like, okay, so I'm going to take your phone. Like, okay, I don't care. You're not going to go to see your friends. I don't care. You think you're threatening me? I'm not threatening. You're not going to play Xbox? I don't care. Go ahead. Oh, that's so nice. That's so cute. That's immature. A lot of kids respond to their parents like that. These days, at least. I hope none of us will respond to discipline in that way. Do not take it lightly. God is just sending you a message, right? Do not be stubborn. Do not be stubborn. I wish one time you guys can prepare a talk about stubbornness in the Bible and what God has to say about stubbornness. So the first thing that Paul is teaching us in Hebrew, do not regard lightly. And the second thing, do not faint. Do not faint if the God is disciplining you. What does that mean? What do you think? Do not overreact. A lot of times we overreact. If You took my phone. Oh my God, how I'm gonna live? I cannot live without my phone. I need my phone. Right? Some people take it so harsh. It's like if the phone felt like and broke and stopped working or something, they'll take it like life ended. Like, well, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna Snapchat now. Like, it's the end of the world. 2012. Do not praise and do not take like do not take either extreme. However, Paul said, endure. Endure is a big one, right? Endure is a big one. Endure, like in the word endure, you feel like patience, right? Patience is important. You feel like do not complain in the word endure, right? You feel like be strong, be of good courage, right? Obey and accept, like he said, and trust his love and care and wisdom. He do that out of love. When I discipline my child, the first thing is like, I love you, but I'm gonna have to take your phone for a few days. I love you, but you're not allowed to watch that episode that you like to watch, or Netflix or whatever. But I love you, then I'm gonna have to do this. So remember that very well. And God always show love. He always show love. He is love, right? Even when he punishes, he shows love. Life events and discipline. Before I go to this, but speaking of love, when I was reading the story of Isaac and Abraham and Isaac, and Abraham is offering his son as a sacrifice, right? He's about to kill his son as a sacrifice, which is a symbol for God's sacrifice on the cross. Just think for a second of how Abraham felt as he taken his son into the mountain of Moriah, and he's tying his son down on the rock or the altar that he's about to grab the knife and kill him. Think about that feeling that went through Abraham as a father. How painful. How painful. I can tell you that as a father, if you see your son the pain the father goes through when he is disciplining his son is more, if not as much at least, the pain the son is feeling as he's being disciplined. I can tell you that. I remember that when I was in high school, I was playing and I broke my leg. So I was in the hospital and getting cast and stuff. And my mom come and see me and crying. She's thinking that I'm in pain. I was like, I'm telling you, I'm not in pain. I'm good. I'm fine. But she is like, she's seeing me having a cast on my leg. She's just crying. The parent or the father, he feels the pain of the child more than even the child feels the pain. Right? So remember that about love and discipline. Now the question is, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is every life event a discipline? What do you think? Is every life? This is the last slide. I'm done with that. What do you guys think? Is life events, failure at a test, disease, death, troubles in relationships, anything, all life events that you can think of, are they disciplined, or are they all of them disciplined? Yes.
Some can be consequences of your own actions.
Okay, that's very good. Some of them are consequences, right? Like the prodigal son, he took his money away. The father did not discipline him, by the way. at that point. He spent all his money and he became hungry and he could not find food. It was a consequence, right? It's a natural consequence though. Like, you don't do well in your test, you will fail. God has nothing to do with it. You didn't put effort, you don't practice, you're not going to do well in the game, right? Okay, so the consequence is one of them. So the answer is no, because could be consequence. What else? Yes.
I think if you, even in your failures or the consequences, I think if taken by the hand of God, I think God can make your failures into a discipline or something to help you improve or correct your.
That's very true. You can definitely learn from your mistakes. Absolutely. And God, as a father, like if I see my son screw up in something, although it's that I'm not disciplining him, but I'm helping him to get out of this. If I see him that, okay, he had an accident and he broke the car, I will not leave him without a car for the rest of his life. I will get him another car or fix his car or whatever, right? So God will fix our mistakes or help us to get over our hardships. But He's not causing it. It's not a discipline though, right?
No.
So life event is not necessarily a discipline. What else do you think? I mean, I asked the question, you have to contribute to the answers.
I think our own free will plays a role.
Okay.
Because if I choose to get drunk and drive, and then I end up hitting someone with my car, you can't say that's God working through that guy to discipline the person who got hit. That makes sense.
Absolutely right. So that falls into consequences as well. What else do you think? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So as a father, how do you distinguish between if your son makes a mistake because he was not prepared for a certain kind of circumstance, so he's not sure what to do, compared to he has the prior knowledge and still makes the mistake?
So I might not know, but the father knows, right? But I mean in general, like I can see my son who's in, say, I have a fifth grader. I don't expect him to be able to succeed as 7th grade math test, even if he's smart, because that's beyond his ability, at least at this point. Is that what you're asking? So as a father, I would know, I have an idea about my son's skills, what falls within his choice, abilities, and what as outside of his abilities. I definitely do not expect him to surpass his abilities. And God is the same. That's why not necessarily everyone is doing something wrong, but God is disciplining him, right? It could be like this person, like this is his abilities. He cannot pass that math test. It's too hard for him, right? That does not always apply to sin, but applies to other things. Not everyone can pray as St. Anthony or Abba Shoykrai. Not everyone is required or able or have that strong relationship with God to the point that he cannot sleep and he ties his head so he does not fall asleep in praying, right? We have levels, and God knows. And God, someone he give him 10 talents, someone he give him 5 talents, someone give him 2 talents, someone 1 talent. Everyone is different. And the expectation from the 10 talent guy is different from the expectation of the 2 talent guy. So God knows in terms of that. Okay. But now back to this question. Do you have any other ideas? We will finish with that. So I thought about some life events are natural. If you're living, you're expected to die, right? Death is part of life. Disease and sickness is part of life. Yeah, we have to understand that. We have to understand that we all go through life events, and this is part of nature. This is part of nature. Hurricanes, although could carry a message from God, definitely. In the sense that the spiritual person will sense God's message through natural events. However, these are natural events. Earthquakes are natural events. Has scientific reasons, right? So life events could be because of natural circumstances. And it could be because of fairness and justice. Because God is fair. Sometimes he himself died on the cross because he's fair and just. Right? So he would do, God will apply fairness and justice on the world. ego conflict lead to ego strength. Although this is not the time to talk about this, but quickly, every one of us, part of life, we're born. Have you anyone studying psychology here? No? None of you guys studying psychology in school? Okay. You guys know Erickson? Who knows Erickson? Okay, you know Erickson, right? So Erickson said that life stages. Erickson said that life, everyone through life, there's stages like infancy and toddlerhood and early school years and so forth. In every stage, there is a conflict. Like in infancy, there is a trust versus mistrust. So the child, in the infant that was born like a year old or less than a year, he's developing a sense of trust. Or shall I trust my parents or shall I not trust my parents? If I'm crying and I'm hungry, will they attend to me or not attend to me? So the child is going through the conflict of trust versus mistrust. And every stage has a conflict. And the ego or the person as going through the conflict, if they can resolve the conflict in a healthy way, they will go to the next level stronger. And so the ego develops ego strength through every conflict. What I was trying to say is life event is a conflict, and it's a natural conflict as these conflicts that everyone through every stage of life goes through. And if we can resolve that in a healthy way, we develop a strength that helps us with the next level. Like infancy, the ego strength, we call it hope. So children that their parents in the first year of life, like through like nature and like their genes as well as their parenthood can develop that virtue or that ability that would carry it on through their siblings. So if I took long, I know you won't believe me, but I never took that too much time in a talk, so sorry if I took so long. And pray for me, and if you have any questions, we can discuss this.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So I want to go back to Verna's question when she said would God punish me or discipline me? So when God burned the whole town, Sodom and Gomorrah, that was punishment or discipline?
What do you think?
I think it was punishment.
I think God in the Old Testament can be a little different. And this particular story, we just know the part that when God came to Abraham and told him, I'm gonna burn the city, and Abraham told him about it. If there's only 10, I was like, okay, if there's only 10, I'll save the city, and so forth. I think that God has been trying to reach out to these people many times before he got to the world. God did not decide, okay, that's it. I'm going to burn you, right? I don't think God then operates that way. It's not God that was like being patient with the Israelites like for years, right? He's the same God, so I don't see him doing that. But definitely could be the point that they rejected the discipline. So they went out of the sonship field. They decided not to belong to him anymore. And then once you go out of the discipline, you go into like, okay, I'm going to deal with you like I deal with everyone else. What do you think, Dr. Saint?
I don't think there is punishment, whether in the Old Testament or the New Testament.
Yeah, that's what I think.
In the Old Testament, there is justice. The word justice is there. It's an attribute of God. So if I give you many chances to correct yourself and to discipline yourself and to come back to God, and you don't come back to God, hey, the wage of sin is death. So you continue in sin, you're gonna die. It's part of God's justice.
Yeah, I would say punishment. I would say a consequence. Better than punishment. But
it was said absolutely correct in the beginning. Punishment has the notation of connotation of anger and and that's not God. I'm punishing you. I hate you and I'm punishing you. That's not God.
Yes? Great. Any other questions? Or discussion? Or comments? God? All right, glory be to God.